The Persian idea of empire. The first true empire was that of the Persians, shaped first in the mind of Cyrus the Great, died 4th December 530 BC, and then enacted by him and his successors in the Achaemenid Empire 550 through 330 BCE. His model became the basis for all subsequent attempts to develop an empire: Alexander the Great, the Chinese Empire, the Roman Empire, Parthian Empire, the Sasanian Empire, the Holy Roman Empire, the British Empire, the Napoleonic Empire, etc. None of these succeeded, as Cyrus had envisioned to begin with. What is an emperor? Clearly, the Persian word for this explains their vision: Shahanshah, king of kings. The Persian concept is akin to a worldwide cultural garden. Each plant, as each nation, has its place in which to thrive in peace and plenty. The sun shines on all, the soil nourishes all, the gardener keeps the plants safe and well fed. Cyrus' vision was one in which the whole world would be managed by a great overreaching governance, but each kingdom, each nation would be free to pursue its own culture as conscience dictates. The need for war would be eliminated because the empire would ensure peace between the nations. His dream was to expand knowledge, minimize violence, and maximize prosperity. He did this under the guidance of the principles of Zoroastrianism. Even the war tactics of the Persians were formulated to minimize casualties for his men while making a quick end to the enemy. The use of the archers and overwhelming force of numbers of men in the field are tactics to stem from a sense of mercy and kindness. Wars had to be pursued, but they did not have to be any more violent than necessary. He was often able to conquer whole nations, such as Babylon, through the use of psychological warfare with no violence at all. These peculiar Persian tactics would occasionally prove inferior to the bloodthirsty love of violence displayed by the Greeks. But as regards the concept of empire, the key of the Persian idea, and the idea usually ignored by all subsequent attempts to form empires, is that each nation must be allowed its own identity and perpetuation of its own culture. The ideal empire is a mosaic of individual nations, a kaleidoscope of lights working together and reaping the daily rewards of intelligence, tranquility, and prosperity. One has only to look at the tiny empire of nations known as Switzerland to see how well it can work. 4 groups of people, each with their own culture and language, all living together in peace and prosperity, armed to the teeth to guard against any foreign aggression. If the vision of Cyrus sounds like something the United Nations dreamed up, it will come as no surprise that a copy of the famous Seal of Cyrus, said to be a statement of universal human rights, is displayed in the United Nations headquarters in New York. Again, we see here a good idea run into the ground by David courses of greed, power, and control. Inevitably, we will see a move toward a global government, but will we follow the vision of Cyrus and be like the Swiss, or the vision of Hitler and be like the Nazis? One allows for and encourages cultural diversity. The other is the domination of all others by one. The good choice is clear, but who has to make it happen? Like, I gotta add a note there. I mean, I don't know what's the anti-German stuff in this book, but look up Hitler's peace talks that the world rejected. Now, he tried to negotiate peace more than probably any other leader in history. So yeah, before you go like drinking the Kool-Aid on that comment, I would say read that. I just got to throw that in there because I have German ancestry and I'm proud to be German, and I'm not going to have anyone out there trying to brainwash people against the Germans, you know, if I can do something about it, because as Zoroastrian, I speak the truth. So that's what I'm going to do. Well, it's part of it. From the inception of the religion of Zarathustra, the faith known as Mazdiyazna, wisdom worship, the effort was made to expand its field of operation. Zarathustra and the priests he initiated into his system, men who constituted the original Mazmaga, Great Fellowship, and who were changed with the personality of memorizing the sacred works and passing them on the next generation, all sought to enlighten as many people as possible, regardless of their ethnic origin. Due to the unwavering principles of the faith, however, they could not use tactics of fear or coercion. In the process, the true God defined a pure consciousness or wisdom in all people who sought wisdom, and thereby thought good thoughts, spoke good words, and did good acts under the guidance of wisdom, were in fact Mazdans. The Great Fellowship taught people from many cultures, but the transmission of understanding was very often garbled with misunderstandings. The only pure way to receive the message in a unadulterated way was by absorbing it through the mattress of the Muslim tradition. The religion were inside Dana, spread from one Central Asian kingdom to the next, and eventually was heard and adopted by the Persians and Medes in the westernmost part of the Iranian world. By the time of the Achaemenid Empire, Osiris and his successors, the Mazdiyazna, was well and long established. The Achaemenid Empire included some 28 different countries. It is known that they were Magian priests in all of them. This spread to Armenia, Egypt, Libya, and into parts of China. The whole Persian world was violently disrupted by conquest. Alexander the Macedonian. Many priests were killed and books were destroyed. It was left to the Parthians, a people akin to the Scythians, to rebuild the Iranian Empire. This they did by reinstituting and supporting the religion of Mazd-i-Yazna. Only in so doing could they reassert their national character. This marked a new era of expansion for the religion, which was carried forth by the Sasanians who succeeded the Parthians in 224 CE. It was during the Sasanian period that the religious took on aspects of the established state religion. The establishment solidified the institutions of the Mazd-i-Yazna, but also made it more identified with the Persian nation, which would prove somewhat counterproductive for the future development. In 633, the Arabs invaded and brought with them their newly reinvented religion of Islam. The Mazd-i-Yaznas were persecuted, and it soon became impossible to spread their religion. The Zoroastrians were allowed to keep their faith under the duress, but they could not proselytize, so it became increasingly a frozen, ethnically bound religion. This situation was further exacerbated when a good number of them immigrated to India around 950 CE, where the conditions of their reception and being tolerated by the Hindu majority was that they not try to convert Hindus to Zoroastrianism. So the ethnic restriction already in place because of Muslim oppressors in Iran was applied again as a condition of their peaceful habitation of the land India. These are the Parsis and make up the majority of Old World Eastern Orthodox Zoroastrians today. For the most part, Zoroastrianism is a religion that does not accept converts. In the West, there are certain groups and sects who thankfully do perform initiations. Chief among these is the Zoroastrian Assembly, headquartered in Southern California. Other religions, which spread out over many ethnic groups, Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam, all took fundamental precepts from the initial true religion of Zarathustra. All of these spread over the vast regions and encompassed many ethnic groups. Buddhism spread slowly, community by community, with local monasteries as the vehicle for spreading the ideas. The Buddhist idea did not use coercion and allowed for the continuation of native traditions in the various lands into which it spread. The original impetus of Buddhism may have been the teachings of Zarathustra on matters of silent meditation. Certainly, the Zoroastrians reformed and expanded the Buddhistic method when the system arrived in Central Asia. This reform constituted that is called Mahayana Buddhism. This is the spread from the regions of the Parthian Empire into what is now Afghanistan and the four East China and Japan. Buddhism had been rejected in India and in the land of its origin as a backlash by the Hindus due to the Buddhistic denial of the existence of the gods. Due to this rejection and exile, it had to make its way to foreign counties. It took Buddhism approximately 18 centuries to spread from its point of origin to the borders of what became the Buddhist world, and the separation from the homeland seems to have been the chief impetus and source of energy for its spread. By contrast, both Christianity and Islam spread through methods of deception, coercion, covert, and violence. It took Christianity over 1,000 years to spread in Europe. On the other hand, Islam spread from its point of origin in Arabia westward to Morocco, Spain, and eastward into the western parts and India and the 200 years the Christians attempted to convert all the inhabitants of the conquered lands and criminalized the continued practice of the old spiritual traditions, whereas the Muslims converted only ruling elite and then allowed the effects of religious prestige, lower taxes, etc., to take hold over time. Because Zoroastrianism never completely lost its base and its land origin, and because it can never use coercion to convert others, its spread was hampered. But those restrictions and historical conditions do not apply to the Occidental Temple of the Wise Lord. We are free to apply methods that will be effective as long as they do not violate the coercion rule. In general, the Muslim movement in the West represents a return to the Zarathustrian message of the original spirit. It is well-defined, philosophical, evolving, wide open to the new horizons, and accessible to all who choose to agree with its principles. We are once again entering into the old spirit of Zarathustra as an institution which seeks and accepts into its fold individuals who have understood the principles of their religion and who have accepted major premises of the system known as the 16 guideposts. It is not necessary for members to give up their old religion or tribal allegiances. It is only necessary to accept the basic principles and practice to best the ones